Welcome back to the Insider Outsider podcast, and we are at 5 subscribers on Twitch, and we are at 105 on YouTube, which is amazing, or 104 on YouTube. I can't remember. Too many subscribers now, but that's it going in the right direction, And Ahmed, I'm gonna tell you a funny story, okay? I made a video on YouTube. You can find it still that said I'm gonna have 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. All right, we're just a little bit off of there, just a little bit off of there. But, I 100% knew I was not going to do it unless a miracle of fate like Mr. Beast just randomly told everyone to subscribe. But it is not necessity to always hit your goals as long as your goals are something that you're willing to do over the long term. Perfect. I'm just going to be our one viewer for this episode, so that's fantastic. But yeah, so yesterday to everybody who did subscribe, because we got one new subscriber on YouTube and another guy on Twitch. That's fantastic. I really appreciate it. We wanted today to start off with what the hell is in my background. So I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I used to try to keep them out of view of the camera just because it was more of like my thing. And I was like, people are not going to be like, oh, this is a little cringe. Even I go with that's a little cringe until somebody makes it, right? Then all of a sudden the cringe turns into something that's really motivational. But when I see a quote on TikTok or anywhere that I really, really like, or something that really resonates with me, I print it out. So if you can see on these right here, that's the NVIDIA co-founder, NVIDIA founder pretty much, and then it's also the guy who is running NVIDIA. And so his resume was dishwasher, busboy, waiter at Denny's, and then he's an NVIDIA co-founder. And there's just a picture of him eating at Denny's, which is very motivational, right? So I strive to be just like that, where it does not matter where you come from, right? And me and Ahmed talked a lot about this on the last podcast, where where the student loans do not affect the rich people. They're affecting the people who need to take out student loans, and so you can't rely on somebody else to pay them off, because it's an obligation, it's a responsibility that you need to take. And so why not make the best ROI possible from those loans? And then from just more stuff that motivates me. So the Elon Musk quote, Ahmed, I think really resonates with Ahmed too. It says, when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor. And this is just a beautiful quote in my opinion. And it's something you can't do when you're poor. When you just don't have the money to want to do something big, you just won't be able to do it. So you need to first make a bunch of things that make you a lot of money, just like how your boy Elon Musk did. And then you use that money to create your future and the future for everybody else.
I really like that quote. And I'm really in line and try and create parallels within my own day-to-day. What I mean by that is, like, I try and find inspiration and motivation. And just to add more reasoning as to why I believe this is because one of my favorite authors, Robert Greene, he says that he has studied and he's expressed this in his books, highly successful individuals. And what he essentially comes up with as a determining factor of success is the highly motivated always are the fit the Pareto principle of 80-20. The Pareto principle is 20% of your focus will actually, or your efforts will result in 80% of your success. And motivation is actually one of those undermined, highly valuable, and empiricized by Robert Greene factors that determine your success. One of my favorites, just to throw it in there, is and you have to sit there and contemplate, and not just you have to be motivated intrinsically. You have to find why you're motivated. Don't just read don't go on Instagram and read all this motivation stuff, and it could turn very unproductive very quickly. But what you want to do is use it strategically, but not as a means to. You don't want to be motivated and not take action. You're motivated and then take action.
Inability to do action is the reason why a lot of people never get from point one. And I'm going to say something about business that's going to relate to this. And for the last few episodes, you guys probably saw that we're more talking about motivation rather than and discipline rather than news, because we don't need to talk about every single news that's pretty much been out there. But have you heard, Ahmed, the quote that 9 out of 10 businesses fail?
9 out of 10 businesses, yeah.
Okay, you've heard it, right? It's a very common analogy when people like to think about business, but it's not exactly true. And today I'm going to motivate you by telling you why it's not true. 9 out of 10 businesses fail because 5 out of the 9 that failed didn't even start. More than 50% of businesses don't even start from the thinking stage. The thinking stage is what kills most ideas. You have an idea, but you don't have the means to do it, so you're not going to do it. That's why most businesses fail. 4 out of the 4 businesses that are remaining, guess what happened? They die because they don't have enough funding, or they don't have the ability to find funding or the ability to do it. Those two are the most common characteristics of why businesses fail. If you actually have both of those two things down, which means you have a strong enough mental model to where you are able to now actually pursue this idea, and you have some finance behind you to help produce this idea, your chances of winning business is actually relatively high. And so when you think
I
about
think the trifecta that I think is applicable to the 5 businesses that fail. One of them being people don't take themselves seriously, and we can unpack that if you have any questions, Rav, or you think the viewer may have questions on that statement. They don't believe in their intrinsic ability to make change. And there's something I read in a book I think you'd highly value. If you come from certain socioeconomic standings, you're told no earlier. So let's say you come from they've measured statistically how many times a human from a baby to the point that you're an adult is told yes or no. And if you belong to a certain socioeconomic group, you're told yes more frequently. And therefore, when you come to take risk within the context of entrepreneurship, you take more risk, and you turn what you see internally in your mind, what you imagine to be a business, into reality. So number one, I would think those five companies, they don't look in the mirror and say, I could do this. And so when the first difficulty comes, that resilience shows. I don't believe in myself. I don't think I could do this. I'm not the person that can turn a $10 business into like $1 million. I can't turn $10 into $1 million.
Right now you can't.
Yeah, but if you change, like you said there's a psychological origin, right? You said that. Explain that, unpack that for the viewer.
So
the part of
okay, so pretty much. This is another quote that's on another side of the wall. You can't see it right now, but it's an Alex Hormozi quote. And this is literally, I took a screenshot of his Twitter page because he posted this, X at this moment in time. And I took a photo, I pretty much screenshotted it. It's hard because you're inexperienced, not incapable. Building,
exactly.
I always refer to IKEA furniture, okay? So everybody knows, okay, you need to have a top engineering degree to build IKEA furniture, all right? This stuff is very fancy, okay? And so, have you ever got stuck making IKEA furniture for a friend, Ahmed?
Yeah. We just built a table like a day ago, like in the basement.
How was it, buddy? Was it from IKEA?
Yeah. It
So,
was difficult, to say the
yeah,
least.
so
Yes.
smart people buy from IKEA. But yeah, it does use an engineering degree to build it. So even when you look at those instructions, okay, you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You're not going to be able to figure it out, okay? But the thing is, once you have built it the first time and you assemble it, if you had to build it again, Ahmed, do you need those instructions, or do you think you could figure it out?
I think it's an exponentially recursive pattern where first time is hard, second time is exponentially
And this
easier,
is
and
this is the same thing with school. Concepts are only hard until you understand the concept, and that's the thing that I found about studying. When you study very difficult, when you study very hard, the moment something clicks, people always refer to it as a click. The moment it clicks, you understand it because your brain figures out a different way to do it, and it figures out the correct pathway to do it. And even if you read a thing 100 times, 100 the first time, it could click differently. So what I'm just trying to tell you guys is this: because of the inexperience that you have, it is going to make stuff difficult. But if you can conquer this inexperience and still do it, then you become invincible. And that's what you have to do, right? So you can't look at something and be like, in 10 years from now, I'll be in a better position to do this. You might not be. You might be a little bit better financially, yes, but you might be missing the complete opportunity because guess what? At that moment in time, you still are going to be inexperienced. Yeah, the running a business is very different than doing a lot of other things, right?
I love what you've mentioned, but there's so many questions I have. And I think this might be a perfect situation for us to talk about this idea that me and you've been talking about for a while. So when it comes to information, how you treat information, you're talking about once you learn a concept, you can then exponentially apply it way easier. The time frame in which it takes for you to apply it's way easier. But there's a part of computing and understanding something that gets lost. When you don't remember something, that's a problem. And I think that's a problem shared by a lot of the viewers. And one of the products that me and Rav have been considering launching, and it's in the early phases, is something to increase your neuroplasticity, something to get your attention sharper. We're using a lot of the
We're gonna
the
sell some
highest
Adderall, guys.
standard.
We're gonna sell some Adderall. I'm joking. No, we're not.
But we're going to use people like Andrew Huberman, who've done deep research, and we're going to basically, we have our own personal stacks like nootropics. We're very we're nuanced in the space, and in the future we'll just tell you, hey, look in the bio. This is our we're working on it as we speak.
This is our
But
stack, guys. This is our stack.
tell us within the space of focus, what have you seen as uh, a huge determining factor
All right,
in
guys.
making that process more efficient,
All
where you
right,
learn
let's speak
something.
about this, and then we'll jump into some news articles. But this is a very, very topic that honestly, Ahmed, if you don't stop me, we're gonna be talking about this all day. So, guys, if
I
you
love these topics. I think they're perfect
uh,
for the viewer too.
so Ahmed, if so, the viewership, if you guys could also, we got to come up with a name for the viewership. The one or two people that look at that keep watching us, we got to come up with a name. Okay,
Inside Outsider podcast.
the
Yeah,
insider
viewership,
outsider group, right? All right, but pretty much, guys, if you could take a microphone and listen to the conversation between me and Ahmed, probably I would say 70% of the time we're mostly speaking about neuro enhancements before cognitive function. And the reason why we're so enveloped in the space is because a lot of people don't understand that you take supplements, right? And why do you take supplements? To usually to make sure that you're getting enough of something, right? It's a supplementation, right? So protein supplements, you're using it to make sure you get enough protein in the day. Multivitamin supplements, you're doing this. And if you get hurt, the medicine today is 100 times better than anything you would have found even 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? Surgeries are so much better. So obviously something has to be better for the brain, and it is nootropics. They're called nootropics. A lot of people know about them, but not a lot of people look enough into them for the same factor that they don't think it's going to be crazy much of a difference. However, they would be very misguided and very, very surprised on how good they can go. So a nootropic, which is not a nootropic but a little drug, is Adderall, which is something I have a lot of experience with now. And for 22 years of my life, I was not taking Adderall. I took it when I was a kid, and I got some very bad side effects from it, so I didn't. We stopped it. And so I was dealing with ADHD type of symptoms, which a lot of which just really being unable to concentrate. And until business, obviously, I really did concentrate on business, so you really liked it. But I recently started taking Adderall. Ahmed can preach to the effects of what it's had on me, and I'm very happy that I talked to Ahmed all day because he can literally describe to me the changes that he sees that me going through. But I can tell you the difference in studying has been night and day. The amount of information I'm able to retain, the amount of information I'm able to go through, the amount of information I can process has been insane. The only way I can describe it is like you're looking through a windshield and it's blurry, and now I'm looking through a windshield and it's the sunniest day. The windshield is the cleanest it can be, and I can like see right forward. The beauty is insane. And another thing you can think about is like you have a computer, you put a faster RAM and a faster processor in it, right? And then now you can function in a direction that you can't. Now, obviously, not a lot of people are going to be able to take Adderall. Obviously, it's a prescription drug, and there's only certain use cases for it because it can be neurotoxic if you do it in a wrong way. But nootropics, on the other hand, are very, very well. Like alpha GPC, huperzine A, these are some of the more common ones that a lot of people do know. If you have a pre-workout, that's that's medium stim, but that's high focus relation. Usually, it's going to have some of these nootropics inside. And so in the workout, a lot of people see these cognitive benefits, but no, they're not trying to bring these cognitive benefits into their reality, like the rest of their life. And if you're learning and trying to process anything, having these compounds that you're utilizing to gain more effect over your peers is really, really substantial. And Ahmed, I'll let you. Obviously, Ahmed has a lot of experience with these as well because you've been on Vyvanse, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
tried? You have not tried Adderall, correct?
No.
All
Just
right, but let's hear about your effects on Vyvanse.
I think that it's a double-edged sword. So you could use it for good, or you could use it for non-productive means. But whatever you start to focus on, you're able to sustain a longer than average focus rate or focus time span. The way I look at this space is that it is a growing problem amongst the majority of men and young men, because there's research that I've looked at very closely related to vape pen use. So vape pen has this nicotine, which is a category called stimulant, and Vyvanse, Adderall are all stimulants. What that means is it upregulates neurotransmitters that are correlated with attention and focus. And so a lot of people are using like nicotine as by itself as something to kind of self-medicate their ADHD. ADHD is a concept developed, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It was developed to basically label the boys in the education system that couldn't sit down. They couldn't focus. They were just bouncing off the walls. And the problem is actually with the observer. At that point, you were looking at someone and saying, that boy is too energetic. He's not doing things right. But the problem is the lens that you're looking at. That same person doesn't require necessarily ADHD medication. I think that space is actually, they don't have higher caliber or high quality, high efficacy opinions, in my opinion, when it comes to this stuff. You're naturally supposed to be like this, but the reason that I open this up is because there are more than one way you can affect your cognitive abilities. You can use stimulants like coffee, you could use stimulants like nicotine, and you could get a prescription for Vyvanse. But nootropics has a comprehensive leverage. BDNF is what I've learned through a lot of these YouTube channels that cover it, and you guys should watch the stuff. Is an increase of stem cell creation in your brain. So your capacity, you go from a V6 engine to a V8 engine because you get stem cells, you get new brain cells. But the reason I bring this up is because if you're in business, if you're trying to understand the socioeconomic, if you're really trying to take yourself seriously and work as hard as you can at achieving success in any means possible as a man in society, you're going to need to strategize, and you're going to need to you're going to need to understand compound interest in all of its forms. So compound interest, the 1% rule, you guys, Rav, if you could break that down really quick, what is the 1% rule?
So pretty much it's about not getting 1% better every day, but the attention at trying to get 1% better every day, because that over the long term is going to lead you to a huge compounding effect.
Yeah, and it's an exponential charge. So you get better on an exponent. You're not going to add 20%. You're going to add 300%.
Mm-hmm.
Like a tripling. It's a huge magnitude.
And one thing I did want to point out, Ahmed, just to sorry to cut you off, but I just want to point out, if you probably noticed when I refer to ADHD, I refer to ADHD type of symptoms, and when Ahmed referred to ADHD, he said the way that it is to the observer. And so there's a lot of conversation between what is ADHD? Like again, I hate to just put a stance there, I have ADHD. And that's exactly why I say ADHD type of symptoms, because I refer to as what people refer to as ADHD. You know, for me, I found the ability of ADHD or the ability of not having to focus on something that I really disliked really helped me focus on things I really did like. And now the effects of Adderall really, really help really exacerbate that effect, where I'm able to really now like what I really like, and I'm even able to like the things that I don't like. I just wanted to put that point out there.
I'm going to add to it. So ADHD is described as a disability you can't pay attention. And that is not an intrinsic value proposition of what it actually is. What I think it is if you're highly creative, your mind does not sit on one topic for very long before it finds boredom with it. And so what it does is it jumps and leaps into categories, and you're basically if you were to express it, if you're going to express it mathematically, your thought pattern is like chaos. But with chaos you get extreme creativity. The only issue is you need to embody the opposite characteristic in the way that you think to actually get productive. And the reason stimulants are so useful for you, the reason they're such an asset, and the reason we're talking about it, is because they get you to line up your chaos. And when you could line up chaos, when you could barrel your energy, you get a more direct hit rather than a spread. And so, a person with ADHD will go to the doctor and they'll tell them, "Oh, you have this horrible thing in your back pocket."
I gotta tell you, in grade 3 when I was diagnosed with ADHD. My teacher told my parents, my mom started crying, okay? All right? My mom started crying because the way they were making it sound is just like, this guy's going to be an idiot for his entire life. I truthfully am saying that, all right? I'm like, my mom was crying, so he sent me to go play in the computer lab in my elementary school. Because they're like, yeah, man. I'm like, goddamn. Like if anybody refers to me, like, I've never assumed of it as any sort of disability. It's very interesting.
The truth of the matter is, these reverberations at a young age, the thought patterns that you will go through being labeled ADHD, is when you become an adult, they're going to manifest as you look in the mirror and you don't see a person that is of high efficacy of cognitive ability.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that, you're going to flake on a business. Those micro expressions actually they have a profound effect on you. And so if you're labeled ADHD, or if you have this, and what's happening right now is society is progressively becoming more and more ADHD. And this is not my words. I'm empiricizing it for you. They take vape pens. They self-medicate. Take nicotine. The truth of the matter, the people who have the capacity or can't sit still in class are actually the sharpest individuals, except they're labeled the black sheep,
Mm-hmm.
which if you're trying to move forward, you need to get rid of the bullshit. You need to turn your back to the people and orchestrate. Or an orchestra, you have to turn your back to the people and do your stuff. And a lot of these younger people are looking for identity reconfirmation in places that don't have their best interest. So, for example, the younger generation, as Rav has depicted to me in other conversation, will go buy a car because they're busy looking at the audience when they're supposed to be orchestrating. They want to express that I have mastered my financials and I could purchase this car, when in reality, it's a compensation mechanism. So what you want to do is invest in cash flow. They invest in liability. And you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I one of the people that is every day getting 1% better? Am I constructive, or am I am I inflicting self-harm? So what you need to do is develop a confidence. This is Robert Greene. A confidence in your own ability, and you need to continuously motivate yourself. And so when you go into the process of that and you see these motivations, so what will happen is you'll look at Rav's wall and you'll cringe. And the reason you'll cringe is because you haven't treated yourself, you haven't looked in the mirror and say, I'm capable. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you build that mental resilience, you don't care what you appear as. You don't care about how you're perceived. You motivate yourself to motivate yourself, not to think about the cringe ruminations, how I'm expressed in reality. So just so that we're on task and I don't hyperfixate on this topic.
Well,
Rav, what else do you think is complementary to the subject area?
No, well, okay, I think we're pretty much all forward. I'm gonna call this the ADHD podcast, just going as a run through in it, because I just hate something like this being labeled as a disability when it isn't. And now, guys, I'm Ahmed. I'm sure you've seen people who I think there's more issue. If I'm gonna be completely honest, the only one thing I'm gonna have,
Yeah.
I think there's more issue in getting a kid or something classified as somebody with ADHD, because now they just perceive themselves as more stupid rather than the illness itself. In the way that I see it. So I think there's just how, like, you can if you talk negative to yourself or negative towards every ability, like if a parent keeps talking negative towards you, you don't really seem to get better, right? You want encouragement or optimism, right? Exactly. It's the same way. So like if you just, it's like when I was told when I was a kid ADHD, one of the things I'll tell you is, so obviously my parents were immigrants. They did not understand the exact classification. I think that's why they took it so much into heart, that they thought something was actually wrong with me. And no one thinks so now. Actually, they probably still think something's wrong with me, to be honest. But the thing is, the way that my surroundings kind of turned into, because of this aspect, obviously was really good because they were trying to tutor me, but I was already perceived to be stupid now, right? And just putting it out there, I was already perceived to be very stupid in education, right? But so so nobody in my family, my sister is very, very intelligent when it comes to studies, and so I was always they'd always refer, oh, she's gonna do something in a field that's very intelligent, and I was always referred to as I don't know where this guy's gonna go. He needs to do something physical because he's not very incapable of exactly right. And I think that did stream into the way that I thought. So I never pushed myself in studying because of the effect that I already was told. And obviously when you're a child, you can't differentiate between what is truthful and what is not truthful, right? So I think that the inability of everybody else in my surroundings to be able to tell me, hey, what are you talking about? Are you stupid? You can still do math really, really well, right? Because I used to be very intelligent in math. But my ability in math turned away very quickly when I stopped overly studying math. And I did that as a direct impact.
I think you represent a hero's journey.
Yeah.
And because of the conversation that I've gotten to know Rav over the years, is that he's consistently underestimated, and he's empiric.
Yeah, I'm not trying to add. We're not making like a random story. We're like, this happens in everybody's life, right? Somebody's always going to.
I'm not fluffing up anything. It's just if I were to be as candid as possible to the viewer, despite the restrictions or the environmental constraints, Rav has this, and I disagree with it at times, but the truth of the matter is, it has high efficacy. He has this all or nothing mentality. He's gonna go all the way to the bone. If he's at the gym, he's gonna make sure that it's done.
Yeah, exactly. You
And
have to do it, right?
he's almost has no remorse for himself. That's the part you know what I mean. But the thing
I'll
is,
tell you something, guys.
I can't neglect the fact that is a high standard of efficacy, because
And
people think that they've done enough and they haven't.
okay, I'll tell you something about Ahmed, alright, guys? So Ahmed is a great hype man, and I really appreciate everything he says, and I agree with it a lot as well. When I refer to people as ADHD, so Ahmed is diagnosed with ADHD as well. Diagnosed just like how I am. Are you? You are, correct?
It's complex, but
Okay, yeah, I understand. But what I wanted to
labeled as black or white's not
yeah,
the best
what
thing
I want to
to say.
refer to as let's say ADHD was an actual illness, right? Like an actual illness where you can definitely
It really
differentiate.
can.
Hmm?
It really can be.
Yes, this is actually what I was about to say. There are
Yeah.
people, you look at them who have ADHD, and you can clearly see that, hey, there is something different with this person in a negative
But
light.
explain why it's not black and white.
Because, when it's so weird. When I was, when you're an adult, you start looking more into what the hell actually this illness is or this illness is. Because when I was a kid, I was referring to it as, oh, I have ADHD, as kind of like an excuse, because I was taking it as that, right? But I see people who also have ADHD and they're very unmotivated. And then I also see people with ADHD who are like, this is what my doctor exactly told me, okay? I was going to a psychologist as a child, okay? The one who prescribed me overly doses of Adderall. And why I got the side effects. It was not because Adderall was giving me side effects, it was because of the dose I was taking. Remember, a really small kid taking like 4 times the dose I'm taking now. Insane. But pretty much, think of it like this, okay? I was told you're probably going to, not directly, but I was told indirectly that you're most likely not going to be able to keep a job. All right? And there's apparently from what I was told at the time, but don't worry, the government helps people like that, and we're going to make sure that you're in the best foot forward, and you're going to be unmotivated, and you're going to be, you're not going to be able to clean up your stuff, and there's a lot of symptoms of ADHD as they refer to it, right? But one of the big symptoms is you can't hold down a job, or you can't come to work on time, or you can't do this, you can't do that. Like there's so many symptoms, and that's what I'm saying. And so why I'm trying to refer to this is, if you look at people like this, they'll tell you they're ADHD, and their exact life is that way. But I also want to refer to the fact that you see people who don't have ADHD and their life is exactly like that as well, right? And what I'm trying to put the consensus is, there's definitely something wrong, right? But that wrongness does not have to be just ADHD. It might just be lack of motivation or discipline in somebody else's life, and lack of something else in their life too, right? Like there's a lot of things that go around this.
Have an analogy. Have some empiricism.
Mm-hmm.
So, if let's say it's like the era prior to Blu-ray disc DVDs. I know this sounds arbitrary and random. Left. What was the use? What was used to store information in computing prior to that Blu-ray?
It was I forgot the name. I know
the cassette.
Yeah. Like there we go.
So, when it comes to ADHD, a lot of these doctors were basically assessing the compatibility of an ADHD person per se in education. The way I see it is that you're a Blu-ray disc, and they're labeling you as incompatible with a cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
And I have further information, I have more empiricized information, just so you know I'm not opinionated, and I'm measured with what I'm saying. I have a ruler of empiricism. Jordan Peterson talks about this thing that they measure called agreeability or disagreeability. And if you look at the statistics play out in reality, I know Rav said that his sister's a lot smarter, and therefore Rav is entitled to any opinion, but I'm more likely to disagree with him because of the data. I think that you are on equal footing. Maybe she's smarter, maybe you're smart. It has nothing to do with that perception.
I agree with you on this, yes. I was just empiricizing what was being said to me.
The biggest lie is that if you are highly educated, you're intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people use education as a crutch.
As a terminology of how smart you are.
And what's happening is the male population is getting less and less educated because they're more likely to be disagreeable. A man typically wants to lead. They don't want, even though you have let's say I have a higher standard ethics, higher order of magnitude of thinking, and I know how to lead my life better. If you go and ask a man, even though the man knows you have a higher standard of advice, he won't take your advice because he wants to be the leader of his ship. That's just
Even if
that's a
the
male
ship is drowning,
characteristic.
buddy. Even if the ship is drowning.
He doesn't care. I don't want you to be the lead. I want to be the lead. And so when he's told in school as a kid, go study, what is this? I'm not taking orders from you. This is my ship.
Yo, Amin,
And then
you have to stop. This
they're
is
labeled.
Amin. I know you planned this, okay? He did plan this,
Yes,
but listen.
we have to get back on economic.
No,
What is? Oh, right there.
okay. Amin is about to get hyped, okay? This is a crazy thing to bring up because a lot of people may not know who Lee Kuan Yew is. And so I'm obviously butchering the name, very sorry, but he is the leader of
Yeah,
Singapore. Not as of right now, but he was the previous
yeah,
pretty much leader of Singapore.
yeah.
I'm not aware if he was prime minister or president. I believe he was prime minister. He was the prime minister of Singapore. That he turned Singapore into a failed British trading post after the British left into a first world superpower, dominant.
Yes,
Nobody
yes.
looks at Singapore today and be like, "Yo, this is a third world country." That is a powerhouse, and he did this a lot with a lot of economic changes he made. And guys, we oftentimes refer to people who have power for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years as somebody who is a dictator, right? We mean you can agree on that. But he did, and they do not refer to him as a dictator because his version of what he did was very successful. Reason why he's on my wall is that motivates me. And the exact quote that he's saying right now is, "I do not yet know of a man who became a leader as a result of having undergone a leadership course." And guys, remember,
Oh,
English
yeah,
was
he
not his
spoke
first.
that.
Oh, sorry, guys. His first language was not English. He actually turned English into the pretty much the primary language of Singapore, as to constrain with the rest of the world, and tried
Mhm.
to go forward. But yes, but what this pretty much this saying is saying is nobody can be taught to be a leader. That's only one step of it. You have to have the lessons. You have to go for yourself to become a leader. And it is a very truthful quote. So just like how Ahmed is saying, you can educate yourself as much as you want. But if you want to be a leader, you have to stand up for what's right. You have to stand up for your own actions and your own inactions.
I have a highly successful friend, and his opinion, I put in a placard in my mind. He said that the education system is a low risk way of doing things, and I
Definitely there's a
think
low
that
risk at this point, yes.
the highest expression of the masculine, and this takes biology. Also, in biology, this is reflected. Highest expression of the masculine is like a gamble, high risk, high reward. During negative economic times, guess what gender is birthed more?
During what times?
During negative economic times, times that
Is
are
it males?
economic females.
Females, okay. I don't know any of the studies about this guy, so I'm gonna take Ahmed's word for it.
I'm not trying to be, put into this gender war. I think that we are equal to opposite, and we could work together to have a really solid output. And I don't want to suggest that females have their benefits and responsibilities. Men have their benefits and responsibilities. We can't play the game of gender war. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is during stressful times is biology, and this is well studied. You guys check this if you don't believe me. Females are born to create like a biological de-risking. You know what I mean? But during positive economic times, you get male. You get higher male. The population gets male. The reason being is because stress and cortisol have a predisposed design to affect how the gender is formed inside the womb. But what I'm trying to say is, I think the expression of the masculine does not fit within the criteria of an education system that's low risk. So you go and get educated. It gives you this idea of a guaranteed job and a guaranteed institution that you fit into. But my friend Eddie said that basically it's if you can't get it done, if you can't get success by yourself, you know what I mean. If you can't get it done the hard way, you go the easy way. You go the education route.
Ahmed,
It's
can
like
I
a
tell you something
second
about
place.
education?
You get second place. You know what I'm
Okay,
trying to
so
say?
yeah. So with the
And
male and female thing, it's a
I,
very interesting concept, right? If one actually does
yeah.
do more than the other, again, I'm not too familiar with this. And again, guys, we're not doctors. We're just saying stuff that may or may not relate to
I'm
it.
quoting studies of
Yeah,
empiricism. I'm quoting
but
how I feel, and this is my
here's
opinion, not
here's what I say
not
about
financial advice.
me and Ahmed for the last few episodes talked a lot about the schooling system. And the
Mhm.
the issue with the schooling system is it comes down to one thing: it's turned into a business It's not turned
Yes.
into an actual product that's going to be beneficial
Yeah.
to the consumer. I'll say
Yeah.
this. Do you know what happens to businesses when they run out of good ideas? iPhone
Wow.
becomes the iPhone 12, then the iPhone 13, then the iPhone 14. I'm
Same
not
phone.
saying that the iPhone has not got better, but I'm saying it's the exact same product all and all over again. There's only so much iPhones you can have until you realize that 4 generations later it's the exact same phone. Maybe a little bit of faster speed. What I'm trying to say is school, because it's turned into a business, is going to offer you every single thing under the book to get every single dollar. And that's the reason why
Yes.
we're in a climate right now where, there are a lot of educated people, but there's not a lot of jobs for the educated people. There's also a lot of reasons why Google itself offers courses now. So guys, if you want to get a job at Google, it might be beneficial to look at Coursera, which Google part owns, and they literally have Google employees teaching you everything you
But
need to know for the job. But so
eventually,
yeah,
when you sit on your most comfortable position, you're not relying on your degree. You're relying on the work that you've done prior. You're relying on
I'll tell you this,
Well,
Amit.
am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? It
Yeah.
is a tool. I love Rav. Rav is you've added the most accurate thing that you want. Education could be used as a tool to help you climb, but it
Here's
always comes
this.
back to
Here, I'll tell you this portion exactly. But here, let me tell you one portion of this that I think
let me say
people
this.
overlook.
I'm stating this opinion just so that people don't know I'm biased.
Okay.
I was very good at school. Teachers thought I was. They're like, you're exceptional. So I got into law school.
Yeah,
I'm
he did.
someone who's had a 4.0. I don't care that. I don't value that at all. I don't use it
I'm very
as a
happy you
means.
brought that up because a lot of people don't know he actually went to law school as well. So Ahmed is a very very educated person saying this about the education system, and so one thing I want to empiricize to make sure that you guys understand, and I want to emphasize this as hard as I can. Do you know how I would fix the schooling system today? When I
What?
become prime minister, I'm going to fix the school system. Every school system, doesn't matter if it's a private business or public business, has to have an unbiased third party vote on how likely it is to get a job after you get the degree, how likely it is to make money after the degree, and what is the chance of success and fail after the degree of people who actually get a job in their degree. If you put those three things on the
Yeah.
side every single course that you're about to apply for, you will definitely see the people shift their change towards what's going to be productive. The thing is,
I'm going to give
guys,
an unpopular opinion.
wait, can I
But
tell you this?
go on, sorry, go on.
Way,
Cut you off.
private in a private education, like schooling system and public education schooling system, is the
Yes.
exact same with mass schooling system online. You and me both know, and everybody knows that they don't buy every single course that's offered to them online. Why don't you? You don't know which courses are good and which courses are bad, so you're not going to spend your $20. So wait a second, you're not going to spend $20 to find out which course is good and bad, but you're going to spend $100,000 in the school system and hopefully get something that's decent. Just because it is taught by a professor does not mean that professor was able to get a job in that field or instead had to become a professor to teach this field about something that he could not get a job in. Right? That is what I'm saying.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly.
You go to school to teach
But Amit,
the
it's
next
not a
generation.
Ponzi scheme. It's a business. If I have a university, guess what? I want to offer as many courses possible so I can attract as many students possible.
Exactly, but like from the perspective of a person you're going to school to become a teacher.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? You're
And yes,
refunneling.
teachers are the most important thing. But again, like I mentioned, there's so much problems in the teaching system as
Don't get
well.
me wrong.
Right? Again, and you need teachers to be the most productive members of the society because they're teaching the next generation. But the way we teach is very ineffective. And again, like I'm saying, if you really care about educating the masses and like you want your population to be very intelligent, the last thing you should be doing is trying to figure out how to teach somebody something they do not need, something that's completely impeccable in any field.
It's a really cool concept. Yeah.
Do you think that university profs know the chances of this person using this degree? I think from the studies I saw is the first degree you use, you have less than 50% chance that you're going to have an actual job in that field over the long term. So it's like, wait a second. And then if we go look at China, and I do want to mention global politics in this, China or India, there's a reason why people say the immigrants who are very intelligent from China or India come here and become the best of the best in the fields. Like, you know how we've always made the joke, if you look at the math team for China and you look at the math team for the USA, they're all Chinese.
Yes.
Yeah, right. The USA Chinese versus the China Chinese. Now, the reason why is the education system is a little different there, and by a little I mean a lot. They emphasize what is really really important. And
let's say we're clones.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to say one more thing before you start this analogy.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I as soon as you closed, I got very interested. I'm like, oh no, I'm about to stop my footing here. But in
No,
China,
so they're
they
pretty
have
decent
so
there.
many more engineering schools than we do here in Canada. Or obviously way more Canada, but even in the U.S. And there's a reason how in the last little while now people are finally going. We're like, hey, wait a second, China's energy means are a lot better than the USA's. You realize how we realize this later? Because obviously in China, they're emphasizing on what the really important next step is for society. And it's not to educate you with any garbage that comes in the world. And again, I'm not saying that every single course offers every garbage. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, it is, I can offer you anything. You choosing to buy something is your own choice. At the end of the deal, it was not the person who sold you the car. You know how like when you buy a car, everyone says do your due diligence, and you do. You try to bring somebody. You don't. Most people don't know anything about cars. So how are you supposed to make a very smart decision on what car is a good idea, what car is a bad idea? I don't know. I don't know how the hell a battery's supposed to look, if it's supposed to look good or bad. I don't know how the hell to tell a voltage. I don't know how the hell to tell if the oil is leaking or not leaking. Right? There's so, like obviously you can look underneath and be like, is there any drippage? You're probably not gonna see any drippage. There's still probably an oil leak somewhere. The way you make sure is you go to a third party, you go to a mechanic shop or a dealership, and you tell them to check the car because you're uneducated in this field. So if you do that when you're buying a car to make sure you don't lose out on $5,000. Why on earth are you spending 10 times that in school without consulting and seeing if there's a pathway for you to make money in this? You're making sure that your car, so you see what I'm saying? It's backwards thinking. People, for every other portion of their life, make sure, oh, is this a good deal? Am I going to the store getting a good deal? Am I buying at a discount? Oh, how do I buy at a discount? How do I do this and this? But then when it comes to education, they're like, yeah, all good. I have to put it in. You don't have to make that money. You don't have to put it in. You can go to a different country to study. You could go to a different city to study. You could go to a college instead of a university. You could do numerous amount of things. But that's just what I'm trying to say, guys. And sorry, Ahmed, I'll let you start your thing. I just have to take this call real quick, so I'll be right back.
I hope to God that you hear this, or I'll express it if you want me to reiterate. But what I'm seeing here, what I was talking about, is how there's almost a disconnect with how the Chinese education system is in comparison to the American education system. And the Chinese have this thing called after school, which means that they are in the classroom. They're within
I did
the
hear
education.
everything you're saying, by the way.
So awesome. So they are double educated.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in school for way longer, and the competitiveness within those countries to get into schools is way different. It's way higher.
Mm-hmm.
The population is studying way harder than we are here on this side of the world.
Do you know this one? I'm so sorry to cut you off, Ahmed, but this just relates so well to your point. So I just want to make sure that we put it.
Go.
There's a engineering school in India.
Yeah.
What is it? It's and the thing with it is, okay, and the thing is, it's literally okay. It's called this is what it's called. It's called IIT. All right, so it's not MIT. It's IIT. This school is way harder to get into compared to Stanford and Harvard and any of the other engineering, and it's one of the best schools in India. It literally brings out the best engineers in the entire world. All right. So what I'm just trying to say is, all right, it's not that this school system is the best or this school system is the best, but I'm trying to tell you, everywhere in the world there's the best school system in something, and especially when you look at the really hard courses on somebody, like it's the same knowledge. So you got to be like, so what's the level of knowledge from India in this? It's very similar. But except you're going to learn way more during these courses, right? So this is where you choose what's your best ROI. What's the best thing that's going to make you money?
I hate the schematic. I hate the if you were to look at this, the system. I know what you're saying. It's.
And Amit, sorry, one last point. Everybody complains about the schooling system, do they not? Everybody knows it's broken, but they still follow it no matter what.
Because it's the bread and butter, low risk.
Mm-hmm.
Low risk. Everyone's going to go low risk. And every parent's going to say, yo, doctor, lawyer, engineer. And you have a whole generation that wants to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. But there's a problem here, Raf.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at like physics, and I know I don't want to bore the viewer, but like nuclear
engineering
physics.
Yeah.
There's this thing called electrons. There's an atom in the middle, and there's electrons. And they can jump from one, either inner ring, outer ring. But they seem to find their place and stabilize. You know what I'm trying to say? Just like electrons find their place in different chemicals. Like different chemicals have different threshold of energy. And if you bounce one electron off, it could shift into another chemical altogether. What I'm trying to say is the education system is a way, and I'll mention this before I continue on this. Our society has questioned gender roles more than they've questioned other roles. Now, you're entitled to think what you want, focus on what you want, but I think that we need to focus on where people actually end up in life through the system. They go through education. They get at 18. You're told, who do you want to be? At 18, maybe you don't know. Maybe some people are more mature at 18. Different people, different timing, and it doesn't respect math that is more empiricized on capacity. What I'm trying to say is, Jordan Peterson. There's an idea that I love, and I'll use to express this. Is that he in one of his books talks about what you want to do when you're working within your best interest, or finding a job, or finding a role in society, not gender role, like a position, like politician, lawyer, doctor, policeman, right? Fireman, is you have to understand what your intellect can carry and what your intellect should not be carrying. Now, if you're working way too hard to carry, let's say you use this analogy like a sword is used for battle, right? You grab a sword, if you carry a sword that's too heavy, you're not going to be able to do much damage. You're going to be tired most of the time. You're not going to fight effectively. If you carry a sword that's far too light, it's just going to be like a feather. You're not going to do anything. You need to find the middle ground, and the middle ground is, and he's talking in retrospect to, what you can carry is what you could function from the intellectual side. You could easily do lawyer work. You could easily do doctor work. A lot of these people go and they're told by their parents to become engineers, and engineering is difficult. The high level of intellectual capacity, lawyer, doctor, they all require high level of intellectual capacity. And a lot of these people he advises them is don't do it if it's going to drain you, if it's going to make you emotionally imbalanced and more, suicidal. You're not supposed to go carry a sword into battle that's far too heavy. It's the same logic when it comes to a job. And so our society, when Raf talked about the royal change, there are men out there that love cars and they'll study it for fun. They don't care about no degree.
Oh yeah.
And when you come to them, they'll give you the best advice. They're not carrying this heavy sword into battle. They're carrying the perfect balanced sword. And with ADHD people, and this is known, if you go watch your feed, ADHD people are people that when they find that interest, they are the most effective at it. If they're representing an electron in an atom, when they find their position, they're going to be in that perfectly. They're going to stabilize the whole system. So if you were to think of the atom as society and electrons as people fitting into their jobs and their roles, ADHD people, the reason that they can't keep a job is because they do not settle for something they're intrinsically not interested in. They appear as highly disagreeable, but the reality is, if they fit into that role, they're gonna maximize it.
And
they're
that's
gonna
a
do better
trait that
than everyone
everybody
else.
should be looking to replicate.
And it's not just ADHD people, non-ADHD people. The problem is education system is built off of agreeability and disagreeability.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me where the majority of disagreeable men are actually today in today's society. Like, where are they?
Yeah, probably not in a good position.
In jail.
Yeah.
They're in jail. Where are highly agreeable males? They're in university.
Mm-hmm.
But agreeability is higher for females than it is for males. It's just a standard objective reality. Females, where do you think most females are today in society?
I would hate to disagree with you, but they never agree with me. As a
Some
joke.
of
No, but
them.
they're probably very high, agreeable.
This I'm trying to use I like how you that's funny, but like
They never agree with you, man. My mom, my sisters, anyone else. I hate to cut you off, but we're at 50 minutes.
University.
Yeah, we hate your job, so I'll let you finish off your point.
Education is not suited for intellect. It's not suited for the role that you occupy in society. It's suited for agreeability. The reason that girls finish university more is because they're more agreeable. When you tell them to do their homework, they do their homework. Mm-hmm. It doesn't represent intellect. It doesn't represent capacity. Mm-hmm. And people cherry this.
It is a good skill, right? Like you being able to concentrate and do something is a very, very good skill, right? All of these are different skills. Yes.
Agreeability is good. Guess what? If you're extremely highly disagreeable, guess what you start to resemble?
What do you start to resemble?
A child.
A child?
Because I don't want to do this. No. What you want to do is find something that you're...
the most effective people...
You're going to agree to do.
The most effective people that I have found is the people who are agreeable and not agreeable. They have both traits, and they're able to utilize them in the right time and
Exactly.
right place.
In balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they're able to, even if they don't want to do it, they do it. That's discipline. That's literally what we mentioned for discipline. So they don't want to do the homework, but they do it anyway, right? Because the thing is,
Exactly.
if you just don't agree, if you just don't do it, you're hurting yourself, right? But obviously, kids don't know that. So I really like that kid analogy that you mentioned. But you have to be disagreeable to be like, hey, wait a second, becoming an engineer or a doctor right now is at 8 years of more education. It may not be the smartest tactic in the book right now. I could literally be making anything more, doing anything else. And so doing the right thing at the right time and again, not following the traditional path is probably the best situation that you can put yourself in.
Don't get me wrong. If you go to university, you're depicting, you're expressing. It's not an opinion. It's not delusion. It's empiricized. You're expressing an ability to sit and recursively be disciplined and go to class and study. And one of the masculine traits, the benefits of masculine, is to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to embody the masculine while being, taking a relatively easy and low risk environment, go to education. But if you want to succeed, you want to do something very difficult, you want to climb Mount Everest, you go succeed on your own terms.
Yeah.
And
Very true.
I'm the type to like what Rav is that person. And the truth of the matter is, just like in the wild, wolves will create wolf packs. You have to find your people. People that have these conversations, they drop the social mask. They show up authentically, and they don't play the games, and they try and work together. That's what you want. You want to have a group of people that you can recursively grow with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want that, you better subscribe.
Yeah, whether you agree or disagree, because we both can take on different stances. But yeah, anybody who's listening in again, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Although the growth may seem very slow, I want to put in one more quote. This will not be a direct quote. This will just be interpretation of a quote. I want to put a quote, and just to end things off. All right, Mr. Beast took 7 years and had to get 1,000 subscribers. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we hit that in 5 years, we're doing fantastic. It does not matter how slow it takes as long as you get to the goal at the end. So, guys, with that, have a great rest of your day. We will see you on the next episode. Ahmed, again, thank you very much for always making time for this. I really appreciate it, buddy.
I really appreciate your input. I wish we had more time to talk about this.
Well, we will.
I really wanted to hear, Rav, your opinion. And the one thing you could take away from this is you want to emulate Michael Jordan. You want to emulate people who are successful. And according to Robert Greene, if you're consistently motivated, if you're putting stickers on your wall, regardless of what the hell you put your knife to, you're going to cut through.
Oh, man.
And
push hard enough, you cut through anything.
Find your people. If people are not interested in what you're talking about or how to benefit themselves, how to use 1% principles, you want to find your crowd and then work within your best interest. Thank you guys for watching.
All right, have a great rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.